Oh, we pretend to talk now because the music's on? They can't.
But they know not what's between you.
And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Musi.
And welcome, John Holmstrom. Great to see you. It's been a while. Welcome to our show.
Yeah, thanks for
Let Them
doing the
Talk.
show.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Great to see you.
And behind us, we see the cover of your new book, which you're
Yes,
holding
and
in your hand.
congratulations on this beautiful
Congratulations,
book.
Yeah.
Punk,
Beautiful
the
book.
best of punk magazine.
Mm-hmm. And you were the artist, and tell us.
Well, the editor.
The editor, but you're an artist. I mean, you are an illustrator and an artist.
I went to the School of Visual Arts
Mm-hmm.
and took cartooning and comics classes. But while I was there, I had two guys teaching comics who were very involved in publishing, and that's
Sure.
Will Eisner, who did the Spirit and then went on to do stuff for the Army and books, all kinds of things, and then Harvey Kurtzman, who started the original Mad magazine.
Oh, really?
Which we all
And-
loved in our childhood and
Still love
teen
to this
years.
day.
And yes.
And well, he later did magazines like Help and Humbug, and he did Trump with Hefner. That's why he left Mad.
Okay.
Because Hugh Hefner, everybody knows he's a big comics and cartoon fan.
We know that now, if we didn't.
Well, actually, Hugh's
Yeah.
original idea for a magazine was to do a magazine for cartoonists, look like a cartoonist marketplace magazine.
I see, okay.
Well,
So
that's
he's like,
interesting.
either do a cartoon marketplace magazine or,
Or naked
like a
girls.
men's magazine. So I guess he made the right choice.
For money, I guess, and popularity and millions of people reading it. But
From his marriages.
almost nobody reads articles that long anymore that they were famous for. Of course, we all know we went to Playboy to read the articles. But cartoons, illustrations, tell messages in the allotted time frame of the average young person today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
More
yeah.
than the articles.
Oh, you're
that
talking
have-
about attention span.
Yeah, right. Hef was behind these long 5,000-6,000 word articles, the big reads. But with the internet and the movies the way they are and television programs the way they are, we've chopped up folks' attention span. And this is a way of getting the information to people, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Into people when they don't have a lot of time to sit there and read a 2-hour-long article. We used to have that time, but we don't have that time in this busy world, for most of us anyway.
Well, the great thing about a magazine is it's portable.
Right.
So you can bring it with you to the bathroom when you're doing your business. You can bring
On
it
the
on the
subway,
bus,
yeah.
subway. And that's why I think, New York's still so literate, because so many people take the subway.
Right. There's a lot of opportunity to read where you just sort of have downtime. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us, let's go back in time. What are the years that Punk Magazine operated?
We started in 1975 and we ended in 1979. So it was around 5 years, I guess, 3.5, 4.
This was before punk was as popular as it is, and well known as it is today.
We started the movement.
Yes.
There was there was something called punk rock around, but it wasn't well defined. And by giving it a visual definition, I think we brought it to life more. And
Well,
also,
you were there in that seminal moment, too, to do that.
Yeah, well, we were before the seminal
Did you
moment
love the
because
music?
We got, oh yeah, I was a huge music fan.
And did you like mosh, go to the slam dance?
Well, there's no such thing as moshing back then.
Okay.
What we had was stage crashing,
Okay.
which meant that you left your seat and you moved up to the front of the stage, and you ignored security people who wanted you to sit in your seat and
Right.
be
Making
nice.
that sort of crowd right
Sure.
in front.
That's
Right.
not even get on the stage. I remember seeing Patti Smith in the 70s, and the fans actually got on the stage and sat with her on the stage. And she, when security tried to push them off, she got really angry and stopped the music and told security, "These are my fans. You don't touch them."
Well, I saw that with a band called Rhinoceros. They invited everybody to come up on stage, and that was in the 60s.
Sure.
So it wasn't completely unknown, but it wasn't a common thing. You remember, Hanson Dick Manitoba got in trouble because he stepped on the stage at CBGB's, and Jane County thought he was attacking her and hit him in the head.
Wow.
That was an early incident
Right.
at CBGB's that
I
kind
know
of
that
put
bar.
punk
I
rock
know
on
his
the
bar, by the way. It's on Avenue B.
Well,
Whose bar?
Yeah,
Handsome Dick Manitoba's bar.
Oh, okay.
Manitoba's on
just
yeah.
below
Right.
Tompkins
It's a
Square Park.
cool bar. It's a crazy bar.
It's like the last remnant of punk rock, that
It
and
is.
trash and
And
vaudeville.
he hangs out there, I guess.
Yeah, he's there on the weekends usually.
Okay, good to know. Wow, so there is still. Well, is punk dead?
Oh no, it's very much alive.
Well, that's why
And
you made this
the,
magazine.
the thing most people don't know, it's a worldwide phenomenon.
It is, right?
You
It's
know.
everywhere.
Yeah, Japan. It's very big in Japan. It's big all throughout Europe. When I went to London for a recent show, I met Slovenian punks, and they're all very proud of theirs. Everybody's proud of their local scene,
Right.
and of course, you know about Pussy Riot.
Pussy Riot.
Of course, and-
Pussy
yes.
Riot, world's famous, and
They went to jail for their.
there are punk scenes in China
Mhm.
and Indonesia.
Is punk necessarily political?
No,
It's not necessarily, but it is.
No.
A lot of it is political.
yeah.
Well,
it can be either
anything
way.
can be politicized, right? Any art form can be politicized.
Yeah.
So
What-
there's some that are and some that aren't.
When punk first started, 1975, when you started this magazine, was punk primarily a political movement or primarily a social movement?
Social.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
With friends. And who do you think were the people who really, from your perspective, who really started? What were the bands, the musicians that really started?
Well, it was the two bands, the Dictators and the Ramones. And the Dictators were really funny and obnoxious. They were kind of started as a practical joke by the managers of Blue Oyster Cult. Remember Blue Oyster
Yeah,
Cult?
sure.
Sure.
They were a great band.
Exactly, yes.
You know?
Professional musicians who traveled the world, so they must have known what they were doing.
And they were like an intelligent heavy metal band.
Okay.
So their managers kind of set up the Dictators and got their first record out as a joke. And the Dictators thought that to this day they're not too happy that they were treated that way. So they're a little funny about that first record. But I laugh out loud when I listen to it because it's so
Right.
stupid and
What did the whole
crazy.
the whole idea of like skinheads and Nazi punks screw off and things like that? Where did that all come out of? That was
think
like
that
the rock
started-
against racism type of thing.
I think it started in England because
Yeah.
they had the. We never had a skinhead movement here in the '60s.
Yeah.
But I remember reading about it in Rolling Stone in like 1969,
Mm-hmm.
and these guys would, shave their heads, wear the Doc Martens and
Right.
those work pants.
Right. They were. But
And
Doc Martens and the
if-
work pants were traditional for a long time. I mean, 100 years. A certain class or segment of British working class kids dressed like that, going back to the 19th century.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely,
interesting.
Yeah.
But I know you remember glam rock because this
Yeah.
is where
Sure.
punk came out of.
Right.
There was a band called Slade that did "Come On Baby, We're All Crazy Now" and a bunch of other songs that people would know now. But they were the first band in England to cut off their hair and wear the
Instead of
Doc
being long
Martens,
hairs,
and they
right.
went skinhead.
Okay.
And the National Front kind of picked up on that over
How did
there.
you deal with those kind of issues when you were putting out Punk Magazine?
Well, we were attacked by the left right away.
Really?
Yeah, Jesse Jackson censored punk rock.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that interesting?
We have a little segment in there, and at the time I
Even though it's
didn't
from
think
the
it was
community,
important.
It's really from the community, and it was not from.
Well,
these
did you get the same
skinheads.
kind or was punk movement getting the same kind of criticism that, say, rap gets, that it's
Yeah,
too violent against?
racist,
Yeah.
sexist, fascist. There's even a flyer here from Madison, Wisconsin, that accuses the Sex Pistols and the Ramones of all kinds of silliness.
Oh yeah, what year? I was probably living there at the time. Find it. I want to find out about
Okay.
that. Maybe I
Paul's
saw it.
interested in
Oh my God, I'm
everything,
going
Yeah,
back.
maybe you
Madison.
were passing it out.
No way. No way. I like
That's
punk.
hilarious.
I like punk.
Well, why don't we tell people
Yes.
about the book release party, which is going to happen on the 11th while you're looking for this.
Boycott fascist culture.
Right, who signed it? Who's on the bottom? Is that my phone number?
CAR, C-A-R.
Oh, Committee Against Racism. I did pay the $1 and was a charter member of that group, but I did not support
You didn't
that.
approve that
Right?
flyer.
And actually, the professor I had, who was a leader of that group, gave me an A+ when I wrote that the only answer to the world's problem was revolution. And I got the paper back, and it was circled in red with an A+ next to it. And that's how I graduated. So I love them, and that's not my phone number, fortunately.
Thank heavens.
Yes,
How
I hung out with
embarrassing
the
would
hippies.
that be?
I was
Not
more of a
even an area
hippie.
code.
Ben Mazel and those guys.
Well, it says here, the Sex Pistols wear Nazi swastikas and call blacks niggers. It's not true.
Right, that was
They
not true.
started
The
just making
Ramones,
things
the
up.
Ramones have instigated racial violence in New York City.
Oh, no.
Never.
Never. I
That
never heard
isn't
such a thing.
true.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of stuff we were.
The kind of criticism
extreme
you were subject
sexism.
to.
Women are reduced to sex objects. One female punk rock group called themselves the Slits. Well, they did.
Well, excuse
But,
me.
You know, that wasn't really
I guess
the
they
point.
wouldn't like Pussy Riot either.
Right.
Exactly.
Carr did some good things because they.
Oh, look, Paul's defending
I know.
it.
Well, I went down to Mississippi with them and we fought the Ku Klux Klan, man, and they had like baseball bats and axe handles and all
Oh
that
dear.
stuff. I
Well, they
loved
were
it.
still anti-punk.
I know they were stupid that way. Okay.
Well, when I first,
not everybody's right, you know. that's for
before
sure.
I even started the magazine,
Yeah.
I was talking about it at Harvey Kurtzman's
Yeah.
over that summer, and Art Spiegelman, who
Uh-huh.
did the Mouse
Yes.
graphic novel series, was there, and I was
Yeah.
saying, yeah, there's these great bands, the Dictators, and they do
Uh-huh.
a song called Master Race Rock and Back to Africa, which is really a song about a Jewish kid who's in love with a black girl,
Right.
and he wants to go back to Africa,
Right.
so we can get to know her better.
Right. Well, I think
And
that wasn't.
and then I'm like, Ramones, yeah, they're great. They do a song called Blitzkrieg Bop, and I'm a Nazi
Yeah.
baby. And he's like, you're an asshole. Kick your ass. Because he thought it was like
Yeah.
He's
I was
taking it
serious racist.
seriously,
He didn't know
right.
that all the
Right.
punks were Jews and making fun
And
of
they're
Nazis.
joking around,
and,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Nobody
we
would
won
say
the
like
war.
like that cartoon movie everybody loves to watch, South Park, right? Where
Yeah.
they're constantly making anti-Semitic jokes, and it's sort of like you think if you were just to watch it, you would be a shock that this horrible thing, but it's really done mostly by Jewish people as a joke.
Yeah.
And everybody, if you watch it for more than 10 minutes,
You
you'll
start
get
to
the
realize how
joke.
hilarious
You'll get
it
the
is.
joke.
I always, the guy who really I think I picked up philosophy from is
Yeah.
Lenny Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought we had that kind of attitude that he had in his humor,
Yeah.
because he would use terms that were
Shocking.
exactly
Shocking.
to make
For
you
a
think.
purpose,
Yes.
right?
To make you
For a
think,
purpose,
you know?
exactly.
So
So let's talk about the event, though, that's coming up on the 11th. We want to mention it because people are going to be interested. They're going to want to see the book.
we're doing a massive book signing. It's called the Monster Book Signing because
All
we're
right.
getting everybody, just about everybody who ever worked on the magazine is going to be there to sign
That's
books.
so
Okay,
fabulous.
great.
So anybody you're a fan of is going to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And
Roberta-
Where's it gonna be
it's
again?
January 11th.
Yeah, January 11th at the Powerhouse Arena in Dumbo, Brooklyn.
Okay.
All the information's on punkmagazine.com.
Oh,
you can
great.
get directions.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
the whole thing.
Punkmagazine.com.
Great.
Go
Which-
there. Yeah.
Which has all the covers, and it's fascinating to see those covers go by. And I remember so many of them. I remember them.
Now let's talk about Debbie Harry. She's written the foreword for you. She's depicted through the book. I mean, even just flipping through, I saw several pictures of her. So tell us a little bit about her involvement in punk and why you wanted her to do the foreword and all of that.
Well, we were big fans of like 2 or 3 bands, really, and one of them was Blondie. And one reason was I thought they were really smart people.
And she's just so fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, it was
Let's
a
face
Smart
it.
lyrics.
It
I
was-
mean, their lyrics have intelligent. They're intelligent
Yeah.
lyrics in their songs.
Yeah. Well, at the time, Chris Stein and Debbie were a couple.
Right.
And really, they were the brain trust of the group, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Chris took great pictures. And he was always bugging me to get the band into the magazine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Chris knew. Like the foreword they wrote says, you know, they knew about photo comics and fumettis, which we did in the magazine, because they had read the Kurtzman stuff. And
And
he
explain what a fometti is for
It's
people
a-
that don't
It's
know.
a photo comic, and we did several, like feature length.
It's from an Italian word in an Italian form.
puffs of
that-
yeah.
smoke.
Yeah,
Right.
meaning
And,
puffs
you know,
of
we
smoke.
would,
If you wanna
And that's
hold it
referring
closer
to the
camera,
little,
show, you can bring it even a little closer.
The little
So you can
word
see it there. Right.
clouds. Yeah.
So,
Cool. That's a Frometti.
I mean, when we met Debbie and Chris, Blondie was unsigned, and there were no real prospects of them making it big. But as things progressed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We-
Look what
they
happened.
got publicity in our magazine and elsewhere because Chris was so good at taking these great pictures of Debbie
Yeah.
and giving them for free
Getting
to
them out.
magazines.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Getting them out there.
they
Yeah.
were definitely seen and then signed, and then suddenly, hey, they can play after all. And they started getting hits right away, everywhere but America. Like we were talking earlier
Did
about
Punk ever
how.
make it to anywhere close to the charts in America during its time?
Yeah.
here?
Oh yeah, well,
Oh,
well,
sure.
when
as far as like, I'm talking
Blondie
about,
had a
like,
disco
Dick
hit.
Clark and all that. Yeah, right.
Right.
When
Heart
Blondie
of
finally
Glass.
put out a
Yeah.
disco
Yeah.
record, they became so big in America
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that all of a sudden all the disco started playing punk
Okay.
and new wave, as
Right,
they
is
had
what
to
they
call
were
it.
That
calling
was New
it.
Wave was redone punk for the mass market.
Right.
Okay.
And then I remember going to discos in around 81, and they'd be playing the Sex Pistols, and the kids would be doing the pogo and the discos. So everything kind of turned upside down after a few years.
Sure. Well, it became popular. It was great music. I mean, people at first, it might put like a lot of things, it put you off at first because it's new, you know, and then you start realizing, wow, this is just more music. It's really a change in the whole genre.
I think it was the censorship by the record labels more,
They made it
instigated
popular,
by Jesse
yeah.
Jackson again,
Right.
that prevented it from being popular here.
Right.
You know, Blondie had #1 hits in places
How about Al
like...
Gore's wife?
oh, she's another one, isn't she?
Yes,
yeah,
another
yeah.
censorship
Right.
person. That's
Yes.
right.
She was-
She's
Yeah.
anti-rock.
Right. I remember Frank Zappa would debate her on television. He was pretty good.
Well, those were the PMRC hearings.
Yes, yes.
And Dee Snider was on there.
Tipper.
Right. But
Just
now
thought of
those
her for
adult lyrics stickers sell more records. People vie for them because they sell your record. You can't even not have it.
Do
You
they
don't
still
have it.
use them?
I think they're redone as like part of the
Oh, that's
our
true.
album art, man. People
Well,
that
that's
love
true.
it. It's necessary.
I got a clothing
sell the
line in
art.
Japan, and they're always putting those stickers on the
Right.
T-shirts.
There's a
That's
difference
funny.
between what people who are in junior high school and what people who are in high school listen to, or what their parents allow them to listen to. So
Well, it's similar to what
just the
happened.
world changes, yeah.
It's similar to what happened in comic books, because comic books were censored in the early 50s. They had those witch hunt hearings,
Sure.
and that's why Mad Magazine was turned from a comic book into a magazine, because all of EC Comics, horror comics, and war comics were put out of business by the government. And then I think comic books got this bad reputation, because when I was
Sure.
a kid, oh, you're reading comic
Comics,
books, those are
right,
bad. Yeah, and that
exactly.
made me want to read them
Now
more.
they call them graphic
Right.
novels.
That's why I thought
Yes.
rock and roll and comic books both had that stigma
Right.
of being like this bad thing you're not supposed to.
So of course we're all
listen
drawn
to
to
it.
it like a
And-
magnet,
so
right?
a magnet draws young people to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, John Holmstrom, we're having this is a great show. We're
The best
learning
of
so
Punk
much.
magazine.
Yeah, Best of Punk magazine. We're learning a lot about this era and the beginning of the punk. You're at a
Well, I have a
tremendous
question
resource.
about the book also. So you put out the magazine for 5 years, then a span of time goes by. What made you decide to compile it like this, that this was the time for it?
I did a smaller compilation in the 90s.
Okay.
Didn't sell that well, but it didn't have all the elements. I needed like a big budget kind of book
Right.
to get all
I
the
mean,
rights
it's absolutely
to
gorgeous.
the photo comics and
Right.
all the material I
Right.
wanted to reprint,
So the
and I wanted to
publisher
tell
does
the
that
whole
work for you?
story.
They help you
No,
out
I
with
had to
that?
do it all.
You have to call everybody up and
Yeah.
get the
Oh,
rights.
that was Bridget Hurd, who's
Hi, it's
co-editor
me.
with me, did a lot of that. Tracked most people down on Facebook.
It must have
Right.
been kind of
Cool.
fun though to talk to everybody again.
It was, it's going to be a lot of fun to see people on Friday.
Yeah, the
'cause
party's
a lot
gonna
of
be
these
amazing.
people have not seen each other for 10 years or more.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
And that's all. It's like a high school reunion or something. It's fun.
yeah, it's more like a high school reunion. It's nothing like Behind the Music, because none of us developed bad cocaine habits.
Yay.
We didn't go on tour and start
Right.
hating each
And
other.
despise one
Right.
another.
So when
right?
things went from punk in your career, from punk to high times, dare I say? I mean, how did you make that? Why did you make that change?
Well, before High Times, I was
You were an
doing
editor, managing editor of High Times magazine when I worked there, and
The publisher, I
It was the
thought.
publisher
yeah,
at that
he's
time.
the
Yeah, right.
publisher.
Yeah.
Publisher.
Yeah.
I went from managing editor to executive editor to publisher to
publisher.
web producer.
Sure.
So it was
Wow. So why did you go from a punk magazine to a hippie magazine?
well. This guy who started High Times, Tom Forsad,
Yeah.
was the biggest fan of punk rock I ever met in my life. We got his picture here.
Oh, good.
There
Oh,
he
that's
is,
a
the famous
fabulous
Thomas
picture.
Founder
Paul,
of
bring that up.
High
That's
Times actually
that's a gorgeous
paid for
picture.
me.
Bring it up. I'll bring it up for people to see. Yeah, go ahead.
He paid for me to go on tour with the Sex Pistols.
Oh, really? Here he is. Let me get him over there. There he is.
He
So you
was-
could do an in-depth report.
Yes.
Fabulous. That's
Yeah.
so
yeah,
great.
and I ended up with the best inside story on the Sex Pistols tour of America that anybody had.
Wow.
We went to almost every show. We got to hang out with them. 'cause
Traveled
we'd be in the
with
same
them,
hotel.
Wow. Did they
And-
in the United States? Were you there at the shows when they were throwing the bottles?
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, down in Tennessee. They
No,
weren't
Texas.
Texas. They weren't.
San Antonio.
They were they just having fun, or they really didn't like
No,
them?
no. Yeah, I really.
wasn't fun
It's one of
at
the only
all.
times I was afraid at a concert that it might turn into a full-fledged riot.
Wow.
Tell folks what about this? People don't know, but the Sex Pistols came to the United States, and for some reason,
Malcolm determined he did not want them to play the usual rock and roll venues that everybody else played. He wanted to cause problems. I
For the
talked to him
publicity.
before the show in San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I heard there's going to be like trouble there. There's going to be a lot of rednecks, and there might be a riot. He's like, we hope so.
Oh,
We're hoping
goody.
so.
Right. Oh, dear.
To get like traditional Americans.
So he's looking for publicity.
Just bring some English folks out there and play some patriotic music, and you could really cause some problems.
Yeah, well, look what he did in England with him. He booked
Yeah.
him on the Bill Grundy show, and they said some dirty words, and the next day they're on the front page all over. They were front page news in San Antonio.
I bet they were.
So when they were playing, they actually had to put nets in front of the stage.
No nets.
So the bottles were just flung in there?
Yeah. Oh, I saw Sid take. This was kind of a turning point. Somebody threw a full beer can at him right in the face.
Oh, wow.
And it bounces off, and he's like, "Hit me again, motherfucker."
Oh, no.
I'm sorry I said that. I'm not,
It's all right. It's just a history. We're not saying this for any sort of sexual.
Right. No, it's a quote.
Prurient. This is a quote from
and
history.
people cheered.
Wow.
Because they were throwing everything they could at him,
right.
And
and
he's
they were
still
taking
coming
it
back,
and giving
right.
back.
Yeah.
But that was a show where somebody started messing with him, so he took his guitar off and he swung it at the guy in the audience.
Wow.
And he ended up hitting somebody who worked for the record company.
Oops.
Well, that's what's the problem with. But Sid Vicious wasn't exactly known for. I mean, talk about two evenly matched groups: the Sex Pistols and a bunch of rednecks in Tennessee. I mean, I couldn't think of it. It was like perfect. I mean, Malcolm was a genius.
He was.
Publicity
He was.
genius, yeah.
He was. But then the
Definitely
lights
that.
went off and the sound went off, and that's when you really wondered, like,
What's going to happen?
yeah, it was scary.
What
like
could
a
happen?
scary
Those guys, a lot
moment.
of them are packing heat.
I don't think they were packing guns.
Good. I'm glad. They
Yeah.
took them at the door. They're used to handling that in Texas. They make you check them at the door.
Yeah.
The gun
They do.
check
They have
instead
a
of the
gun
coat
check
check.
at the door. I know.
It's too hot for
Absolutely.
a coat check.
Absolutely. And they actually were doing that. It's funny, the NRA comes from down there, but they actually had, back in the Old West, you couldn't bring a gun at the Tombstone. You had to check it at the gate, or else that's why the sheriff had a mean sheriff down there to take away from you if they found you with
Well,
it.
speaking of the NRA, I'm very proud that our writer, Mary Herron, who was with us and the very first time we went to CBGB's to interview, she did the story on the Ramones.
Okay.
She interviewed the Sex Pistols
Sure.
for us. She interviewed John Cale. She's one of probably our most important writer. She plans to attend part of the book signing,
Okay, great.
and she's also the director of American Psycho, which, if
Okay.
you saw the NRA statement, was attacked by the NRA, head of the NRA.
Oh,
So she's
okay.
taking on the
Remember?
NRA in her book, American Psycho.
No, the
No,
movie.
they-
The
She did
movie,
the
I mean,
movie
She did the
version.
movie.
That's what
No,
I meant
she
the
did
movie.
this like
Yeah,
years
I'm
ago.
sorry.
I don't even think there's
they're
a gun in the
attacking
movie.
her.
Yeah, right.
But they're
They're going
like-
after her.
Yeah, they're going
because
after
they're saying
her.
American Psycho, it must mean us.
That incited people to.
The problem is
that's
them
why people-
not
that's
having
why the
guns.
school-
Exciting movie.
Not
Yes.
having guns. It's
Natural Born Killers and American
It's
Psycho were the
violent
two
movies.
movies. This guy
Right.
blamed
That I
all the
saw.
gun
I
violence
saw
on
American
him.
Flag. Yeah, American
And Mary Herron,
But not that
our
many people
Mary
saw that
directed
movie.
that movie.
and she will
it's-
be there on
it's-
January 11th at the party
Right.
that
The
you
per-
can
the
find
person
out
the NRA
about
is
at
blaming.
punkmagazine.com.
So they're blaming basically Punk Magazine's most prominent
Top
writer
writer,
and
yeah.
top writer for all the mass killings in America.
And see, Mary is still
Punk
punk
was
rock,
behind
man.
it all,
Mary
right?
is still punk rock because she
Right.
made that movie.
So is punk violent?
Only when necessary, I guess.
It's like America.
You know. Well, come on,
You
it's
would
a
hope.
violent world.
Yeah,
It's dog eat
right.
dog. Look at the ocean. It's fish eating fish eating fish.
So it's reflective
I
of
mean, it's-
society.
Right.
This whole world is a
Right.
weird place.
Yeah. But then you do, punk has, such great, Jello Biafra and the Ramones, MDC, and the Dicks, and all these great bands that, many more, the Upside Down Glass,
Missing Foundation, Paul.
Right, I know, but I wanted to say the Upside Down.
Millions of Dead Cops
Yes.
is probably
Yeah,
your
right.
favorite, right?
Well, they changed their name because they were vegetarians and they really didn't hate cops. They just wanted publicity. They changed their name to Millions of Dead Chickens because they were vegan.
Oh,
They were
because
vegetarians.
they went vegan.
Oh, I didn't know
they
that's
went vegan. Yeah, and they changed the name to Millions of Dead Chickens. It was only a joke, the MDC, Millions of Dead Cops. They didn't really mean it. Like a lot of these things, they're not really
Well,
violent
the names
people.
of the bands,
You know.
of course, are fabulous. I mean, just
It's like
to list
comedy.
them off like that is
Exactly.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes,
You gotta
It's
laugh
so
at
great.
it because why? If we can't laugh at ourselves, then who can we laugh
But
at?
it's incredible creativity by the musicians to come up with some of these names that.
Yeah.
Well, the first punk rock band that people point to say the biggest influence were the Stooges.
Yes.
And now when you say the
sure.
Stooges back then, you think of the Three Stooges.
Right.
Exactly.
They're
That's what I
very
thought.
violent, those guys.
Oh my
Totally.
gosh,
Grew
they're
up on the
constantly
Stooges.
poking each
Very-
other in the eye
very
and
And,
stuff.
and they
So-
were always constantly, eating cats and everything weird you could do.
Yeah.
They were doing it. I know.
So to me, there's something about comedy where it has to be, con-
Well, let's have some
warped and
action, some
twisted.
conflict.
Has to be
Right.
shocking.
Yes.
I know.
It's sort of like horror.
You have to
That's what I
catch people
say.
off guard. And,
When people tell me a comedian was horrific, how could Sarah Silverman say that? I just say,
Oh, she's so funny.
she's hilarious.
but I say that's what she's supposed to do. She's doing her job
Exactly.
in society. That's why do you think she gets paid to do it? It's a job in society. If we can't laugh at ourselves, who can we laugh at? And society. doesn't
Some
laugh at-
people prefer to laugh
I
at
can
other
list,
people.
I can list all the societies that didn't laugh at themselves, and they all came to bad end.
And I'll tell you something. I think the most dangerous people in our society
Yeah.
are the people with no sense of humor.
Yes, it's a
You know,
very.
there's
I agree.
something,
It's dangerous not to have a sense of humor.
Absolutely, right. And plenty of people don't. Plenty of people don't, unfortunately.
But luckily, plenty of people
this
do.
magazine does,
Yeah.
and plenty of people do, and it's a great magazine, Punk, the best of punk magazine. We've got a couple more minutes. Maybe you want to run down again
The party.
why people would about
Oh,
the party
sorry.
and why the party, and why people would want to own this magazine, this book,
This book?
this book about this magazine.
Well, to me, it's like the greatest book ever made. Especially, there's so much of my work in it.
Yes, and it's beautiful.
If you're a fan of the Ramones, Joey Ramone was like our co-editor. Like he thought of the idea for Punk of the Month.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He had some ideas for the Mutant Monster Beach Party photo comic we did. Great pictures here of Debbie
Yeah, Debbie
and
Harry looks
Joey
so
getting
beautiful.
married.
Oh, let me show it again.
Joey-
I'll show folks here
right
so
there,
they
the
can
Joey
see it.
Hansen.
These are incredible. So this is some of the great stuff. If you're a punk fan,
Then
you'll
get
love
out
all this
there
stuff.
on
Yeah, get out there. This is the
January
type of thing you
11th.
love.
And Mickey Lee is the best man to the wedding there.
All
He's
right, there you go.
Joey's brother and trying to carry on the legacy of the Ramones.
Yeah, and all the information about the party on the 11th is at punkmagazine.com.
Richard Hell starred in The Legend of Nick Detroit, which was our first photo comic.
All right, great. Hold it up higher.
And-
Folks can see it straight
okay,
up.
I
like
can't
that.
see
No,
where
that's
we're-
good. Yeah, that's good. I got it. And so folks can see it. There we go. And this is great. This. If you love this kind of artwork and you love punk music, you gotta be interested in this.
This is
really
5 years of
was
Punk
right there at the
Magazine,
beginning,
the
yeah.
best of.
Oh, we love it.
Yeah, I
We
mean-
love the effort and with the great work you've done, John.
thank you.
Holmstrom.
Thank you.
so much for bringing this to us. And
We're in the last minute, so
yeah, anything you want to end up with about the legacy of punk rock?
Everybody said it was going to be a fad, and it died after a few years, but it was just starting. So it's usually true when everybody says something, it's often false.
Often
and
wrong,
you really have
yeah.
to think for yourself, and I think that was our basic idea. You got to think for yourself.
Sure.
You can't let other people tell you what to think.
exactly.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much, John Holmstrom. And again, when is the party's on Friday?
Friday night, starting at 6. Get there early. We're going to sell out of books very fast. So if you
Okay.
want to get a
Yeah,
book
I think
signed
so,
by
too.
everybody,
Right.
Exactly.
get there early with your $30.
Okay.
You're going to have a really good time. Great.
Is that-
Oh, we're going to have the Bossa Nova Ramones.
All
music.
right.
Ramones songs done Bossa Nova style.
Great.
great.
Thank
My
you.
favorite new album.
Thank you, John Holmstrom.